Hello everyone, and welcome. Tonight we journey into the paradox of the Middle Ages, a time of seemingly rigid structure that was, beneath the surface, constantly improvising. We're exploring the unexpected institutions, the things that were only meant to be quick, temporary fixes, that accidentally became fundamental parts of medieval society, often lasting centuries longer than the empires that created them. We begin with a sound that defined the town square. The Town Crier was the epitome of this accidental permanence. Originally, he was a stopgap measure for urgent news. Imagine a sudden crisis, a dike failing, a foreign messenger arriving, and the authorities needed to alert everyone right now. There wasn't time to write and post 50 notices. The solution? Find the loudest person, give him a bell, and tell him to shout. It was a one-time gig, but it worked too well. The efficiency was undeniable. In a society where literacy rates hovered around 10 to 15%, relying on reading was impractical. The crier bypassed this entire problem. Noise equaled attention. This efficiency doomed educational reform for decades. Why invest in widespread literacy when a single paid official could disseminate all necessary information? His duties quickly metastasized, from fire warnings to tax announcements, market regulations, prices, public executions, and even lost pets. He became the living, breathing newspaper. Consider the user experience. A peasant returning from the fields, or a merchant haggling in the square, did not want to stop, find a notice board, and strain their eyes reading legal jargon. The crier brought the news directly to their ears over the din of the marketplace. This convenience cemented his necessity. They gave the crier his official uniform, a salary, and legal immunity for the noise he made. This temporary shouting service morphed into an official, inherited government position that would last in some forms well into the 18th century, a testament to the power of pure practicality over sophistication. Our next accidental fixture is the bell, or more accurately, the widespread, indiscriminate use of bells. The original concept was simple tracking. Losing livestock was a major economic blow. Attaching a clapper helped locate a wandering cow in a dense forest. Simple, effective, temporary solution. The practice spread to anything prone to escape: sheep, goats, and yes, children. Placing a bell on a toddler was, arguably, one of the greatest medieval parenting hacks. It provided constant auditory surveillance. A parent always knew the direction of the retreating, jingling sound. However, the sheer volume of this collective jingling became a genuine public nuisance. Chroniclers often lamented the cacophony, noting the impossibility of silence at night due to the most annoying nightly ringing of the herds. The temporary convenience turned into the medieval world's first noise pollution crisis. The end of the practicality came with the nobility. Once the elites adopted bells, they became purely decorative. Bells were sewn onto belts, boots, cloaks, and even the hems of garments. This wasn't about tracking, it was about status. The louder you were, the richer you appeared, as you could afford such elaborate and useless accessories. The bell transformed from a useful tool into a fashion statement, a self-announcing system that ensured everyone knew exactly where the wealthy person was at all times. The crier and the bell show us that, in the Middle Ages, the most successful innovations were often the simplest, requiring no complex technology, just noise, convenience, and a collective inability to undo a good idea, no matter how loud or irritating it became. We now shift from the accidental laws of the medieval period to the ruthlessly intentional system of ancient Sparta, the Agoge, and its final, darkest expression, the Krypteia. Unlike the medieval world, nothing here was accidental. It was a deliberate, institutionalized plan to suppress the individual and create the perfect state weapon. The Agoge, or the rearing, was the state education system starting at age 7. Its core mission was not to teach academics, but to teach deprivation. Boys were deliberately underfed, forced to sleep on reeds, and encouraged to steal food. This wasn't to teach them to be criminals, but to teach them stealth, self-reliance, and survival. If they were caught stealing, the punishment wasn't for the theft itself, but for the incompetence of being caught. Every moment was a lesson in hardship and absolute obedience to the state. The Krypteia, the hidden thing, was the final, most brutal stage of this training, typically undertaken in the late teens. It was a temporary service, a transitional phase between boyhood and manhood, designed to test the limits of physical endurance and mental fortitude. Recruits were sent into the wilderness, given only a cloak and a knife. They were expected to live off the land, forage or steal food, and survive for weeks or months entirely alone. The Krypteia was designed to dismantle the concept of comfort. The youth learned to sleep standing up, move without rustling a leaf, and endure constant hunger. The elders enforced this by harassing the recruits, leaving subtle clues of their presence, a broken branch, a distant shadow, to remind them that danger was permanent. The goal was simple: master fear. If a soldier could remain calm, silent, and immobile while anticipating the attack of his own officers, he would be unstoppable in a phalanx. But there was one last, unspoken requirement of the Krypteia, the trial that separates this unit from mere military scouting: the helot hunt. The helots were the enslaved population upon whom the entire Spartan economy rested. They vastly outnumbered the Spartans, making the threat of revolt constant. The final test was designed to address this vulnerability with brutal efficiency. The youth would be directed to eliminate a designated helot, often a leader, a capable or potentially rebellious man. This was not a chaotic battle. It was a cold, solitary act of precise assassination. The recruit had to track his target, observe his routines, choose the optimal moment, and execute the kill silently. The stakes were absolute. A sloppy execution meant a struggle, which could lead to his own death or alert the helot community, triggering the revolt Sparta feared most. It forged soldiers who could kill not in the heat of passion, but with absolute cold-blooded necessity. The youth who succeeded returned not to a hero's welcome, but to silence. The elders gave a grim, simple nod, the only acknowledgement that he had crossed the final terrible threshold. He had proven he valued the state's security above all human empathy. This process broke the last ties to individual life. No family, no pity, no self. The one who returned was a Spartiate man, a collective entity, an instrument of policy. The Krypteia wasn't designed to create good men. It was designed to create unbreakable weapons. The irony is that the secrecy, the isolation, and the brutal final test, all temporary rites of passage, became the permanent, unchangeable foundation of the Spartan military machine. They succeeded with a perfection that remains terrifying to this day.